I kind of talked to you about it the other day, but I mean, to go and win the regional, I mean, how much does that help your guys' mentality going into the championship?
Yeah, I think anytime you win, there's obviously a momentum there that you can't just recreate, and so the guys are super confident. We feel like that it was our first tournament. We put 3 rounds together. We'd been playing 1 or 2 rounds, but this is the first one we put 3 together. So the vibe in the locker room is great, and winning takes care of a lot of that. But we've also been working on a lot of things that are starting to really show up on the mental game, and that's just as exciting because we know we've been putting in a lot of work. So to have that pay off is fun to watch and feels good for the guys.
You guys obviously been in this position a couple of years ago. What's the difference in doing what you do at a regional
Right.
compared to at a championship? I mean, you had all 5 guys playing
Right.
great golf there. Is that just you got to even play better?
Yeah, I think we went with the mindset, let's play to our standard. Let's try to win. We can't control winning, but let's play to our standard. And I think that was a great mindset because you don't want to show up and just try to advance, get in the top 5. I think that's a poor mindset. So I think more than anything, that was the goal. And of course, it feels good to have maybe 4 or 5 holes there down the stretch where you can kind of relax, go, I think we got this in the bag. So that was definitely some cherry on top for a coach anyway. The guys didn't really know where we were at that point, but that's certainly way better than being there on the 4th and 5th spot. We've done that too, and you're wondering if you're going to get it done or not.
Obviously, y'all face some tough competition at the regional. We're able to beat them. How do you feel like that sets you up? Maybe having a tougher regional sets
Sure.
you up for the championship.
Yeah, we feel like we play a really tough schedule for a reason, and we've seen a lot of these teams, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas, are all in our league and very high ranked, and so we feel like because we've seen those guys all year, then nothing's new when we show up to the championship. We know those guys, we've beaten those guys, and it's just a matter of having a good week.
Ludwig, that was his first regional, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Since last year got cut short. How do you feel like he did, and
Sure.
I guess what did you see from him?
Yeah, really all 3 guys that have never played a regional, Garrett, Ludwig, and Board, all 3, first timers in a regional. And you don't know what to expect, because it's a little bit different when you're trying to advance. But they've all played in qualifiers where you know that, hey, you either win or go home. So just kind of encourage them, hey, this is the same type of atmosphere where you either play good and move on or you don't. And those guys handled it very well. But Ludwig handles pretty much everything really well. So he's like having a third coach.
Not to jump the gun here, but is there any fear with how good he is that he could leave you early in turn professional?
Yeah, we've just decided to let the golf tell us when he's ready, and he's a really mature kid. They have the PGA Tour University now for seniors, so I think that's something that he's going to consider, and he wants to get a degree, and we've just basically kept in touch. A lot of the agents really love him, which is a good thing. You'd rather have that than guys that agents don't want, right? And so he's getting a lot of attention, but he handles that really, really well. And we're just taking that thing day by day and year by year. But he's coming back next year, and I think once he gets pretty close to that degree, then he's going to have to make a decision with the PGA Tour University. But one thing I do know is he'll make the right decision.
You last week you told us about the story about how you got him here. What was the recruitment like on board?
Yeah, so Board, we watched him in Florida. There's a big international tournament there, and Mikkel, my old assistant, was from Norway, and so kind of knew a little bit of his backstory there. So went and watched him there. He didn't play too good, but you could see that he was raw, that he was going to be pretty good. And I think Mikkel was a little bit gun shy to recruit somebody because he felt like, man, my neck's going to be on the line if he doesn't turn out good. And I just looked at him after he played, and I go, you think if that kid was over here playing every week, and an American kid, we'd have to beat 10 schools for him. I said, what are we doing? This guy's really good, and so I think that's when he started thinking, yeah, you're right, I'm overthinking this, and we started recruiting him, and luckily it, worked out for us. Having a Norwegian assistant coach at the time certainly helped, and when he came on his visit, nothing was lost in translation, and he liked it here. We had other Norwegians here. I think that helped too, and so that's a little bit of his recruitment.
I was trying to think. Obviously, you've had a lot of talented guys from Sweden.
Right.
Who's been your top player from Norway?
So this year, Board's been playing some for us. Carl Diedrich's played for us, and then Marcus Bradley's been in the lineup some too.
Before them though.
No, we haven't had a
pretty
Norwegian
much.
before. Marcus was our first one.
How similar or different is golf? Of course, another, I guess, neighboring
Right.
countries. How similar or different is golf in Norway versus Sweden? Or
In
did you
Norway,
have
it's
any-
about triple the price in Sweden, so it's just more expensive. Yeah, that's probably really true. You go to Norway, everybody apparently works in Norway and then drives over to Sweden to buy their groceries is kind of the joke. But no, it's real similar. I mean, it's you can't play golf all year round, but they do a good job. They both have great junior golf programs, both have good coaching, really solid on their fundamentals because they can get indoors and work a lot on video. And then I think the one thing we overlook is they're usually big kids, bigger kids, so they're able to kind of move the ball out there a little bit easier than maybe smaller kids that we recruit. So you're dealing with some bigger kids over there. But with Annika back in the day, I really think golf in Sweden's exploded. And now with Victor Hovland playing so well, it's really exploded in Norway. So two really good countries that have produced a lot of good college players. And I think there's probably 40, 50 from each country out there playing college golf on the men's and women's side.
How much can 2019 help this group?
Yeah, I think it's one thing when you have a couple of those top eights on your wall in there, so the kids don't think they're doing something for the first time. I think that helps. It's something we've talked about a lot, something that we feel like it's our goal, and so I think just like when you look at programs like Oklahoma State, when they have so many conference championships, it's kind of their unwritten expectations. So having that in there certainly helps, and probably just like baseball going to the College World Series, I feel like that kind of helps set that standard, and you don't have to really talk about it as much. It's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. So I think it helps, and you don't have to say it. It's just kind of an unwritten code or goal, if you will. So that certainly will help.
Can you use last year as any motivation for these guys? I know you coaches typically are like, hey, we move forward, but I mean, we all know how good you guys were a year ago. I mean, is that something you can at least remind them of?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like that's so far in our rearview mirror now, and Sandy's not playing this team. We got it, I think, ranked 2 or 3 in the country when COVID hit, but I don't even think we're thinking about that. This team's turned a corner in a different way, and so it really doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing right now.
What is Sandy's progress? What's he doing now?
Yeah, he's still progressing day by day, and I don't think he's still 100%. He's probably still 75, 80%. Just doesn't feel like he can quite swing it up full, and so he's got some ways to go. I still think he's going to try to qualify for the U.S. Open here in a couple weeks, but he's just not 100%.
And what does it say about your team that you're going to lose the guy who is perceived going in to be your number one player, or has been your number one player, and then be back at the national again?
Yeah, I probably can thank Oklahoma for that, because they just had so much depth, and we've really felt like, man, they just keep rolling one through. They had about 12 players, so we really tried to recruit more depth, and that's come into play more with COVID than we ever thought, and so we've had just the luxury of having some depth. So yeah, I think we have the depth. We had young depth, and now they're starting to mature and play the way that some of these other guys played. And Ludwig's probably playing just as good, if not better than Sandy right now.
You said that obviously qualifying those tournaments within the team, how competitive they are. What structure does that take? What does it take for a guy to jump into the top 5 and knock out one of the guys on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been super competitive this year, with the team, the depth we've had, and so yeah, it's more of us evaluating how they're playing too. Some of the guys earn it just based on their scores, and sometimes we just have to pick some guys that we feel like may fit that course in particular. So it's a combination of proving it out there and being competitive, and then us seeing what we need to see. So there's been a little bit of both, but I think Board is a kid that has just really done well in some of our qualifications. He's really played for a freshman, probably the best I've ever seen in qualifications, and now he's starting to do that in the tournaments as well.
What are you going to know about the championship course, and what specific things, I guess, are the guys working on these next few days to get ready for that?
Yeah, it's going to be hot. We can't really simulate 102 degrees, but we did play it in April when we went up to Arizona State's tournament. We played a practice round there, and the golf course is going to be probably firm, fast. Greens are going to be tough. The complexes are elevated, so and the other things are going to hit a lot of long irons and 3-woods off the tee. So it's a course that takes driver out of the hand a little bit. So we've been emphasizing those things, but more than anything, our mental game stuff and progressing in that and feeling good there is really where we're putting a lot of our attention.
So is it a narrow fairways or trouble, or?
Yeah, it kind of pinches in in spots at 300, and some of these guys are landing driver at 300 and it's rolling out kind of to where it pinches into the trouble or to the desert or something like that. So it's really where the ball ends up that these guys sometimes have to hit something less than driver. So it's probably just hadn't kept up with the technology, but they'll find ways. They've got the rough up, I know, a little bit based on what I've heard from the girls championship, and the greens are a really good defense too. You know, they can make those firmer and faster, and you know, if it gets windy, that's just one added element that'll come into play.
What day do y'all travel, and how much practice do you get?
Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow, and then we'll play one practice round. We'll play a different course just to kind of shake off some cobwebs, and then play the practice round on Thursday.
All right, Garrett, how do you think the regional went for you specifically?
Me specifically, it was fun. Kind of was out there and just the mindset of just getting better every day, just trying to put a score up for the team and compete best I knew how. Felt like the plan for the week was good. I had a good plan going into the week and just wanted to execute that the best I could, and ended up working out pretty well. So it was a fun week.
How'd you feel about the competition out there and how that kind of will set you all up to compete at the championship?
Yeah, well, so when the selection show happened and I saw we were going to that regional, I thought that was probably one of the better regionals of them, with Oklahoma, Stanford, A&M, Arizona State. So it was a very, very packed and very talented regional, and for us to come on top was definitely a boost of momentum going into nationals, knowing that we can compete, and just that extra boost of confidence going into nationals for sure.
And then knowing you're going to Scottsdale, how do you prepare these next few days heading to that course?
Just kind of the same thing. We went out and played there probably about a month ago, and so we know kind of what it takes, like off the tee and into the greens and around the greens, kind of what we need to work on and what we need to practice. So just same thing we've done all year, though, is just working on the basics and work on the process and let everything else take care of itself.
No, you don't need to win the regional per se. I mean, obviously to qualify, but what does that do for your guys' mentality going into the championships? Knowing, like you said, you were able to beat some of those teams.
Yeah, mentality, it was great. It was actually our first win of the year. We probably didn't have the year that we always wanted. We had a lot of guys play well at certain times, but as a team, I never felt like we really put it together at the same time, and for us doing that just gives us an extra boost of confidence, and that we're kind of trending at the right time and peaking at the right time when it comes to the most important tournament of the year.
With you being a Texas high school guy, and I assume maybe AGA, GA, has your game improved, or how much maybe has it improved competing within the team against all the international guys and guys that Greg gets from all over the world?
Yeah, so getting here and especially last year as a freshman was a big learning step when it comes to the bigger, more difficult golf courses, longer golf courses, and I started to learn what it really takes to play out here, and got to really chip the ball well, really putt the ball well, because I've always been a pretty good ball striker, and so I learned very quickly that you can't just hit it close, you got to be able to make putts, and I think that was probably the biggest learning tool the last couple of years, and I think it's really transcended me this year, and kind of really focus on that part of the game, and it's really helped out a lot.